What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dion and you are watching Reptiliatus. If you enjoy watching videos about these types of critters, please do not forget to subscribe down below, and then right afterwards you can ding the notification bell to know when my next video comes out. I usually post about once or twice a week at least, so hopefully you're here to stay and enjoy the content. In today's video we're going to be doing a bit of an update on the Isopod collection. There's some pretty exciting stuff I want to show you guys. For example, the Cubaris orange tigers have dropped a few broods of mankai, which is pretty exciting, as well as a few updates now that those Isopod cultures have been set up in their enclosures for about the last month or two. In today's video we are also going to be feeding them some scraps of sweet potato I have here. It's just going to be a nice little relaxing tour, you know, one of those nice Isopod collection tours that you can just sit back and relax in isolation and check out cool isopods. So in today's video, the question I'd like to ask you guys is, what is the most peculiar or weird thing that you feed your isopods and found that they really enjoy eating? Comment that down below, and as always, I'm gonna do the same, and I will give your comment a heart and start up a conversation with you guys. Awesome, let's get right into it. All right guys, so in no particular order here, we're just gonna start at the top of the shelf here and yeah, get right into it with the isopods. So first species we're gonna be doing here are the Porcellio laevis here. These are the orange laevis. So they're doing fantastic. I've noticed lots of mankai in here lately, which is a great sign. Shows that the animals are thriving. But yeah, very happy with how they're looking. This is a really cool species you could get into keeping if you want something that gets almost as large as the Porcellio magnificus, but is a lot more prolific and you could say even a bit more hardy. So happy with how they're doing. And as I was saying before, without digging around in here too much, you can see that there are a bunch of mankai just hiding in the substrate, and there's some springtails, which is obviously a good thing to see. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and let these guys do their thing as we always do. They don't really need a spritz or anything. The substrate's evenly moist, but we're gonna go ahead and give them a piece of sweet potato, as I had previously indicated. Knowing that this species eats a lot, we'll go ahead and give them a piece that big. Now, it's really important when you're keeping isopods that you really micromanage how much food you're offering them. If you put too much in, one, it encourages mold growth, which is harmful for the animals. And secondly, you can get mites, and mites are a problem you don't want to have. As you can see, I have a little bit of mold there, but that's totally manageable. Really not a big issue. It's when you get big bunches of it spreading around like a sheet that it can actually strangle and harm mankai especially. So that's the biggest issue with mold. But then mold is also indicative of insufficient ventilation if there's a lot of it. So sometimes having more ventilation helps as well with that issue. So yeah, just making sure that you're not giving them too much food, just enough that they consume it within a few days and it doesn't just sit there and rot. That's very important. Okay, perfect. Let's move on. All right, guys, so the next species we're going to be looking at here are my Porcellio spatulatus. Now, as you may recall, I had some major issues with these guys. A lot of them passed on me, and I'm left with like maybe 5 to 10. But some light at the end of the tunnel, I noticed that these guys seem to be pretty well stabilized, you could say. I'm noticing that, I don't know if it's this one specifically, but there were at least 1 or 2 females that looked to be bearing. I don't know if it was this one. I think it actually might be. But that gives me a lot of hope because this is one of my favorite species. Unfortunately, there's a lot of dwarf whites in there and they always throw me off and make me think that they've produced mankai. But look at these guys. They're absolutely incredible. They look like little trilobites. They're up there as a favorite next to the werneri and the Porcellio expansus. So hopefully they're going to be thriving. There's a bunch of them there. And then of course we have our lone haasi that just like lives in here with the crew. So yeah, these guys are doing awesome. So let's go ahead and offer them a small little piece of sweet potato. I noticed that they've also consumed the rest of their dried fish. So this is the product here that I'm using for the isopods to give them their dried fish. I really do enjoy offering this because it's like a great source of protein for them, but also calcium because they will consume the bone. So just one is enough for the amount of isopods in here. You can see before, where was it? There you go. So you can see there that they really do like eating the fish. All right, the next species we're going to be doing here is a hobby favorite. These are the Porcellio expansus white. They are also doing really well, as you can see. Lots of animals thriving. So very happy about that. They have plenty of fish. It seems to be one of their favorite things to eat, as you can tell looking at the little bones everywhere and half-eaten fish I put in recently. But there's a good amount of animals in here, so they do have a pretty healthy appetite. I find that they're not as interested in eating vegetation as a lot of other isopods. I've given them zucchini and other food sources, but they seem to just like eat the skin off of it, if anything. But yeah, I always just make sure that they have a moist corner of moss here. And once in a while, I'll do this, a little spritz around the surface, which dries out pretty quick. But today we are going to offer them a piece of sweet potato and see what they do. We'll put one there and maybe a really small piece elsewhere. That is actually more than I think we'll need to give. I don't want it to sit there and mold, as I mentioned before. So there you have it. One more look here. Stunning isopods. And these are all juveniles. None of these are actually full-grown animals. But you can see gorgeous Porcellio expansus white. Really quite something. All right, guys, time for the exciting news here. These are the Cubaris species orange tiger isopods. Now, you're probably asking yourself why I have all these little lids in here. It's because I haven't gotten around to using the label maker to identify or label each species. So I'm just making my life a little easier keeping those in there. It doesn't bother the isopods at all. But let's have a look in here and see what we can find, because these guys have been doing really, really great. Here's actually a few of them there with one lone Armadillo officinalis that lives in with them. But yeah, these guys recently dropped a few broods, I noticed. So there are at least 2 broods of mankai currently living in here. Let's see if we can find them. Usually I've seen them under here. Right off the bat, you can see there's a few of them hanging out. Obviously by the food source, you can imagine. And then here we have a bunch of them. Uh-oh, that one may have mismolted, or it's in the process of molting, but it doesn't look too good. And there's a bunch of them there too. So very exciting. We have lots of mankai. I'm definitely worried about this one. He does not look great, but again, it could just be the start of a mold. So what I'm going to do is gently make sure we place that on a proper angle. Don't want to disturb them any more than we did. That's always the risk with lifting wood in these enclosures, but very awesome, very cool species. I really love how active and colorful these guys are. There's a lot of variation. You can get some darker individuals, and then you can get others that are a lot more vibrant. So once they really get going, I hope to be able to try my hand at like selective breeding a few. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But what we're going to do now, as you saw again, is we're going to pour some water in just to add a bit extra moisture, because there are a few spots that are drier than I want them to be. We'll go ahead and do that first. Trying to stick to the corners a bit because I know that there's some mankai. Spray the mold off that piece of food that I guess they weren't interested in. And then we will also give them a small piece of sweet potato. And I'm going to check tomorrow and see if they went for that. Oh, hey, look at that. There's a little manka running around, and there's an adult. And a cursed midge fly. Bane of my existence. All right, those are the orange tigers. It's a very exciting update. It's nice to see a species that uncommon and rare finally settling down and reproducing. Alrighty, everybody. Next, we have the Porcellio laevis whites, which are another phenotype form or another morph of the Porcellio laevis. So we saw the oranges already. These are a form that has very little pattern expression. So it's usually selective trait that's bred out from the dairy cows. But you can see they're just absolutely gorgeous isopods. Super prolific as well. You can see all their frass under there. And they have been breeding as well. Lots of little mankai running around. So happy to see how well they are doing. Let's go ahead and spritz their moss corner. So that's the one refuge they have, that if the enclosure gets too dry, they can always go into their moss corner. And that's something I recommend everybody does with their enclosures. You always have a clump of moss in one corner that stays wet. And even if your substrate gets dry, all your isopods will retreat there and it'll keep them safe. But obviously, if you're maintaining the humidity necessary for the isopods, you never have to worry about that. But it's always good to have as backup. So I always have that moss retreat. Now, there are a lot of isopods in here, so we're going to go ahead and give them a piece this big. But yeah, these are one of my favorites, really. You never can get enough of laevis. They're popular, they're beautiful, gorgeous animals. All right, so the next isopods we're going to feed here are my Armadillidium magic potions. These are a variation of vulgare, if I'm not mistaken. These guys also seem to be doing quite well. I mean, it's great news that everybody's doing well. You can see they've finished off a lot of their fish, and there's one little juvenile right there. Usually there's a few hiding under their cuttlefish bone, and there we go. Let's see if there's anybody here. Hey guys. So yeah, you can see these isopods are stunning. They almost have a transparent appearance, matched by little polka dots that are underneath the surface of the exoskeleton, but also above it. And then on top of that, you have this golden, sparkly, bedazzling pattern that covers a lot of the animals as well, which is super cool. You can see it there on that one, and it's never like uniformal. It's just kind of all over the animal. So it's really quite spectacular to see. I wonder if we can find, oh here, this is a larger animal. Just want to show you guys what it looks like on a bigger, ooh, sorry buddy. Okay, well, we won't bug them more than that, but that's what a more or less adult animal looks like. And so you can really see the color that they have. It's super unique and interesting. No two magic potions look the same, so very, very cool type of isopod to keep. So let's go ahead and spray down their moss corner. And I'm gonna go ahead and spray the enclosure a little bit because it's dried out a bit more than I like here. That's why that moss corner is so important. And then let's go ahead and give them some sweet potato. I just cut a bit more up, but there we go. We'll give them that, and also a little piece of fish because they went through theirs pretty fast. So there we go. Armadillidium magic potion. Alright guys, next up are my Armadillidium Punta Canas. I didn't have very many of these to begin with, but I'm glad to see that the ones I do have are really thriving. There are some annoying dwarf whites in there, but that's okay. I'm really hoping that these guys are going to start breeding soon, because it would be really cool to have more of the phenotypic expression that's so exciting about this species. Just that like they have this type of variation. I mean, look at that. That's such a cool looking Armadillidium individual. So assuming that they all possess, you know, a decent amount of genetic variation, even though phenotypically most of these are kind of a vulgare looking Armadillidium, my hope is that the Mankai will kind of spice up the color variation in this very small colony. Otherwise, we'll have to acquire some more, but they are doing pretty great. So, same routine. We'll grab some sweet potato, drop it in there. And I'm also going to give them a tiny little bit of fish, because again, there's only like 5 of them in there. Just a bit of the dried minnow tail, and that should do it. Awesome. Alright guys, so these are my Armadillidium tangerines. These are the sordidum. They're really beautiful species. This is a perfect example of substrate that has kind of gotten a bit drier, and you're seeing more isopods resorting to the moist area, which is very normal. We'll know for sure by how many we find under here. So there are some that are still on the dry side, which shows that it's not super dry, but there are definitely enough isopods hiding in the wet moss that it tells me we need to add more moisture. So we'll go ahead and spray things down. Sorry guys, sprayed a few in the corner there, but they're okay. And then we kind of just watch here also, like you can see how much water there is, how dry things are. So we do want it to get absorbed down in there, but that side's obviously a lot wetter. So anyhow, they're doing really well. I'm surprised how prolific this species has been for an Armadillidium species. But yeah, they're so beautiful. It's just like little orangey red Armadillidiums. So let's go ahead and give them a piece of sweet potato. And because there's so many of these animals in here, we're also going to put in a whole piece of fish. Wonderful. All right, guys, here we have my Armadillidium maculatum France line, and these are the French line of the zebras. Just going to gently tap a few off. Hey, guys, what are you doing on there? They're a must-have species, honestly. Whether it's the France line or not, you have to have maculatums in your collection. You're basically a criminal if you don't and you keep isopods. Like, they're just so beautiful, and they have so much variation too. Like, who wouldn't want these isopods if you're already keeping them? They're just amazing. Oh, dang. Get it. I'm just kidding. There's a few isopods getting frisky there. But yeah, look at all of these guys. They are just adorable. Very, very, very nice. I just honestly love maculatums. Now you can see here that some of them are almost spotted. So I was thinking of actually separating these guys to try and start a separate line, when the normal version of the animal, their coloration and pattern is just like this, right? The zebra stripe. But it's very interesting to see spotted like that, where the bands are broken up. So I think, let me know in the comment section if, excuse me guys, this is a G-rated film.
Oh, don't cry.
Please relax, okay? I know people are bored during isolation, but come on. Listen, I think that, but yeah, oh my gosh, really? I think it would be awesome to know if you guys want me to do some more videos of like trying to isolate certain traits in isopods and setting up separate cultures to see what we can kind of get in the, oh my gosh, in the outcome as far as offspring looks. So let me know in the comment section down below if you'd like to see content like that. Also, oh my, you guys are just extremely naughty. Extremely naughty. Naughty little isopods. Okay. Anyways, let's go ahead and give them some sweet potato. There's so many isopods in there, so they can definitely handle being offered that much. We'll also put a few little bits of minnow in there for them. Beautiful. All right, guys, next we have another one of my favorite of the vulgare forms, at least I think. This is the Armadillidium vulgare species, Albino Japan. They are absolutely gorgeous. Look at these isopods. They have that beautiful rose gold adult coloration, met by a more yellow coloration as youngins. The juveniles are a bit lighter, but you can see again one of the more adult forms. Really stunning pods. Can't go wrong having these. And somehow, again, for an Armadillidium species, ooh, look at all those springtails. This is what you want to avoid mold. For an Armadillidium species, they are so prolific. It's just awesome. So let's go ahead and give them some sweet potato. Lots of pods in there, so we'll make sure we're a bit more generous with that. And we'll also give them some fish. Beautiful. All right, friends, next up we have another. This is the second last form of the laevis I keep and produce. These are the gray or wild type laevis. Another cool form of the Porcellio laevis. Really interesting. Obviously pretty prolific. They look really nice. So yeah, these are some Porcellio laevis as well. It's funny, they're almost less common than all the morphs. I feel like dairy cows are the most prominent species. Well, not species. I feel like the dairy cow form is the most prominent thing you'll come across in the hobby. Finding the actual natural form of this animal seems to be the most uncommon phenotype that you'll find. So really happy to have these in my collection of isopods. Bit of fish for them, and voila. Okay, friends, next we have my Cubaris species Borneo. These are the Borneo Cubaris. They look very similar to a Cubaris marina, but they are a distinct species. So these guys have also been doing wonderful. There's lots of isopods in here. A lot of them are hiding in the substrate. Oh, we have one casualty, it looks like. That's bound to happen eventually. And yeah, I've just been really happy with overall with how well they're thriving. There's lots of mankai in here, so very happy to see that. I'm actually thinking of rehousing these pretty soon because there weren't that many of them originally, so I kept them in a smaller enclosure, but now it's gotten to the point where they actually need an upgrade, so I'll probably be doing that very soon, putting them into the same size enclosure all the other isopods are in, and they should do a lot better having that much space to continue to grow in population and such. So we'll give them a little bit of fish. Yeah, I know that was kind of gruesome. They're literally like a minnow head. I'm guessing this is the body to it. That's how it came out of the bag. And yeah, those are the Cubaris species Borneo. So I'm sure you're all quite familiar with these next isopods. I don't want to bug them. They're so tiny and like hard to come across, really. I don't know if there's any. Yeah, well, we're just gonna leave this because I don't know. I'd really love to show you some, but if they're not really in the open, we may just leave it. Yeah, I don't know. We'll leave it, but I will insert some. Oh, no, that's not one. If I don't find one here on the surface, I'll insert some footage of what they look like. These are my. Oh, was that one? So yeah, I can't really find them right now, and I don't want to dig around in there too much, but these are my Tuberillo species Borneo. So we're going to go ahead and give them a tiny little piece of fish, and then a tiny piece of sweet potato. Drop some of the sweet potato in there for them. Perfect. All right, guys, so the next species is probably my rarest species of isopod I keep next to my Tuberillo species. And no, it's not the Nagris cristatus or this maculatum that somehow ended up in here. It's these guys, the R13 duckies. They are super interesting. I mean, look at that. They almost look like a panda king, but not. And the expression of phenotypic variability in this species is also, well, very interesting. So I found that some of the offspring almost look like rubber duckies. I'm just going to dig in here a little bit to show you guys. Some of the offspring in here. You can see some of the adults hanging out there. And this was, I think, one of the mankai that's kind of grown up in the enclosure. But you can see that some of them have like reverse banding. I mean, look at that. That one is like pretty neat. Yeah, there's quite a few of them in here. They're all mostly hiding in the moss. Let me see if I can fiddle around just to show you a few more interesting individuals. Yeah, like just really cute isopods. Really, really neat looking. Hi, little buddy. You can go back if you want. Go ahead. There you go. So yeah, those are the R13 duckies, which is referring to a specific road called R13 in Malaysia, where they were first discovered. Cool. Well, let's go ahead and give them a little bit of sweet potato. And then also a small piece of fish. Beautiful. Next up are my Armadillidium species klugii Montenegros, and these are arguably one of the most colorful isopods in the hobby. As you can see, they have a beautiful red skirt and white and yellow dots on their back, so really, really nice. I'm noticing that some of my animals are like totally different now. Like that one has no yellow, that one has like a yellow dot on its head. There's definitely some weird variation showing up in my group, so that's curious to me. I don't know, like I think there's the Armadillidium Dubrovnik, if I'm not pronouncing that incorrectly, but these guys were all yellow when I got them, so I don't know what's going on, like as far as the center row of spots. I have even seen some friends that said that their animals or all yellow expression, which is also super cool. So it's probably another mutation. I mean, look at this one. He's missing spots. So that's very curious as well. Definitely another species that's fairly hardy to keep as long as they have adequate ventilation. Pretty prolific for an Armadillidium species, so another enjoyable species to keep. So let's go ahead and spray down the moss. Definitely needs a spritz. You gotta love the sound of that mister, eh? Just kidding. You know, give this area a spray down too, but especially the moss corner. And then we'll go ahead and offer them some sweet potato and a little piece of fish. Perfect. All right, guys, so these are my Armadillo officinalis Spain locality. These guys really took a tumble, and unfortunately, I wasn't careful and didn't notice that they dried out a lot when I had first moved to Ontario. So I think I have like 4 of them, and I'm honestly just praying that there's at least a pair there and they can bounce back, or I'll have to acquire more. But otherwise, they are doing okay, the ones that I do have. It's such a tragedy, honestly, but let's go ahead and give them a bit of sweet potato here and a tiny little piece of fish for them as well. That should be good. I'll put a little bit more fish in case one of them gets greedy and runs off with the food. But yeah, they're a really lovely isopod. You'll see the officinalis Greece coming up soon, who are doing a lot better as far as population goes. So lovely isopods. All right, guys, here are one of my favorite species of isopod. These are the Porcellio werneri. They're literally the definition of like a flying saucer. These are some larger juvenile animals. They do get to be pretty big for Porcellio. Oops, sorry, guys. They're really, really nice isopods. They look great. There's a bunch of them here. A few larger ones hiding there. Yeah, they're really, really elegant. A must-have. Finally picking up in popularity, and more people are producing them, which is great to see. So hopefully they continue to, I guess, become more accessible in the hobby. See that I've given them a decent amount of fish, so it doesn't look like they're going to need more of that. But as I have been doing, I'm going to offer them some sweet potato, see what they think of that. So far, it doesn't look like they're interested, but we'll give them time to decide. But yeah, those are the Porcellio werneri. All right, everybody. Next, we have the Armadillidium granulatums. I was pretty much left with just a ton of juveniles, and all of them are getting to be a really good size now. And these are supposed to be one of the largest species of Armadillidium in the hobby, actually. So that's interesting. That's just some food I gave them. But yeah, look at all these guys. They are really underrated, super neat looking. They get really big up there with Armadillidium gastroi. But I love that they almost have like this mauve, dare I say, less than gray, almost purple tinge to the exoskeleton. But yeah, super cool animals. Love them. If you can see here, it looks like some of them are showing interest in maybe reproducing. And all this fine square little cube stuff, that's all their frass. That's their poop. It's interesting how it comes out like a little box, just boop. So yeah, let's go ahead and give these guys something to get excited about, some food. There's some fish. Go ahead and drop a piece of sweet potato in there. Why not a second one? Because honestly, there's quite a few there. And we're good. All right, guys, so the next species we're going to look at here are the Cubaris Pak Chongs. These are a really beautiful species of isopod, as you can see. Definitely love the coloration with that little white skirt, red tail, and the little red mask. They're super elegant. And then we have a bunch more Montenegro cristatus, which are the gray, Costa Rican gray striped, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, if we take a look here in the moss, we'll probably find a lot more of the Pak Chongs hiding out in here. But yeah, anyways, we're going to go ahead and drop a little bit of fish in there for them, as well as a small piece of sweet potato. Alright, guys, so the next species we're going to be looking at here are the P. ornatus high yellows. They're doing pretty sweet as well. Lots of these guys. As I've said in a previous video, I've noticed that some of them there are looking to be sort of the chocolate phenotype. So you can see that there's the ones that have sort of the black base coloration, but then there's also some here that are showing some brown expression for the phenotype, which is super neat. So that's great to see. Yeah, they're definitely thriving. There's lots of them in here. They're breeding regularly, and man, oh man, do they have an appetite to match. So let's go ahead and give them a few pieces of sweet potato, just kind of scatter them here, as well as 2 pieces of fish, because these guys really go through their food fast. And I'm definitely going to spritz down the wet side here, and just a light mist across as well. Perfect. Awesome. That we have the Porcellio scaber orange, which is a really easy to keep species that's super prolific. As you can see, tons of them in here. They're really nice species, even sometimes used as feeder animals actually. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and give them some very matching in color food, as well as a few pieces of fish, and that should be good for them. Stunning little guys in here, obviously doing fantastic. Yeah, Porcellio scaber orange. All right guys, next we have arguably my favorite, or close to my favorite species of Armadillidium. Uh-oh. I hope that they're okay and able to get out of that. Doesn't look too good. Definitely don't want to interrupt, but these are the Armadillidium gastroi. Stunning species, a very large Armadillidium. Lots of larger adults as well as mankai in this enclosure. I definitely hope that guy's okay. Doesn't look like it. It does look like a bit of a mismold, but I don't want to interfere. As I said, doing so might harm the animal. So what I'm going to do is just place that over them so that we can go ahead and mist in here without harming that little guy. But there's also a bunch of mankind here, and even just looking at these, you can see that between individuals there's different colors. So you have these lighter ones, as you can see there, they're almost like a mint. I would almost call them a mint. And then you have these bright, vibrant individuals. So again, another opportunity to separate the isopods. So that's super cool. Let's go ahead and give them some food, and then a little bit of fish. And then I'm just gently going to spray down the enclosure a bit as well. Perfect. All right guys, next we have the Armadillidium species T- albino. This is a really cool isopod. As you can see, they're absolutely gorgeous, and they have been breeding really steady in the enclosure as well. Lots of springtails in there. I imagine the bulk of them are hiding under here. Oh, so yeah, this is another circumstance where we have different species in the enclosure. I had one Cubaris marina in this enclosure, and this was the last surviving of my Porcellio expansus orange. So I actually did acquire these, and at the time it was really poor timing on my part when I got them. Oh, look at all these. There's a ton of mankai there. But I did get these at a really bad time, and unfortunately my group of 8 that I received, because I had 2 DOAs, ended up being one animal here, which looks to be a juvenile male. So I'm happy he's alive and well. I do have plans to get more of this species so I can set up a proper culture now that I'm ready for it. But yeah, so he just kind of lives alone in here with the Armadillidiums, which is totally cool. So we're gonna go ahead and spray this enclosure down a little bit on this side, and then we will offer them some sweet potato, because that's what we're doing today, isn't it? And then I'll add a few little bits of fish. Perfect. Alright guys, next is one of my very favorite species that I keep. These are the Porcellio flavomarginatus. These guys are making a great comeback. Look at all the springtails here. It's great to see in the enclosure. And here we go. These guys are so awesome. They look like they're glistening with that shiny white coloration. And they're very active, which I like about them. They're always on the move. Very nice little isopods. So we have a bunch of juveniles here growing up. Hopefully they are going to really boom in the next few months and really take off. So they're looking great. We'll go ahead, spray the enclosure a bit. And again, we're just gonna place a piece of sweet potato in there for them, as well as a few little bits of fish. Awesome. Here are the true, just normal form of Armadillidium maculatum. These are zebras. And we have our little dairy cow who's just doing great there. The moo moo. No, I'm kidding. I don't think I ever decided on a name for them. But yeah, as you can see, they're going strong. They're going to be 2 years old at the very least in the next, next few months. So very cool to see that isopods can live that long. Especially just your average little terrestrial ones. So let's go ahead and give them a little spritz. And they have their sweet potato. There we go. Some fish. Wonderful. And you can see again some different phenotypic expression. Very cool. Alright guys, here are a few of the giants in the house. These are some Porcellio hoffmannseggi. They're very, very big isopods. Most of these are technically just large juveniles, but no, they are breedable size and they're getting to be quite large. So glad to see how well they're doing. Really, really cool. Love these. So let's go ahead and give them what they want. They go nuts for fish, so we'll put a few pieces larger in here. Like I bet you if I even set that there, one of them's probably bound to sense it and start nibbling away. Maybe not. Maybe it's too bright for their liking, but generally speaking, they really go crazy for fish. So this is their moist side here. It's still pretty moist, so I'm just gonna do a light spray there, but then I'm also just gonna go like that across the whole thing so that if they want, they can walk around and get a little drink. But let's go ahead and put a few pieces of sweet potato, just kind of scatter them throughout the enclosure, and that should offer them some vegetables for variety. Beautiful. Alright guys, here is what I would usually call my basically party mix of Porcellio scaber. There's just a ton of random variation in this enclosure, just lots of crazy phenotypes, and looks like they have mankai in here, which is great. But you can see there's like some orange Dalmatians, orange animals, just normal Dalmatians that looks like a chocolatey Dalmatian. So it's really cool that they're starting to take off a bit more in here. Excited to see what they continue to produce color wise. So hopefully that keeps up. But yeah, let's go ahead. Oh, are you gonna go for some sweet potato? No. So far, no one's actually. Oh, I lied. There we go. That's what I want to see. I was like, no one's actually eating on camera yet. But there you go, munching on some sweet potato. Good job, buddy. Yeah, so there we have it. So magnificus. The few that I had left, I've been babying them like crazy, and the juveniles are growing, and hopefully I will have mixed sexes here. I really hope that they are going to continue to thrive and reproduce. It's always an interesting thing when you have a colony almost die off from accidental drought or negligence or something like that. In this case, it was some drying out that killed off a lot of them. So hopefully they'll make a big comeback. But yeah, there we go. I'm just going to give them a little bit of fish as well to nourish them. And we'll leave it at that. There's about 5 individuals in this enclosure. Next up we have, this is just a medley of wild isopods from BC. So they're doing really well. It's really, really nice. We're going to also offer them some sweet potato. So drop a few pieces in. And a little bit of fish. And they look like they're doing great. Awesome. These are the Armadillo officinalis grease form. And as you can see, in contrast with the, oh, there's our cool little guy. In contrast with the Spanish form, or locality, these guys have a lot of offspring and are doing really great. And this is one of those funky little tanned ones. I have a few that are just popping up in the group. So that's really cool. I'd like to isolate them and try to have a different, I guess, colony of that color. But I've only found 1 or 2 so far, so I'd rather kind of raise them up a bit with the group and hope that more pop up first. We want those to breed with more, right? So that we hopefully have more of them showing up. Yeah, they're doing quite well, so that's exciting to see. Let's go ahead and give them a bit of fish. Wonderful. Gonna spritz a little bit. Oh, sorry guys. That guy got spooked. Sorry, little buddy. You okay there? My bad. Beautiful. All right, friends, these are the Porcellio calico. So these are scaber calicos. Really, really nice. The females in this group or culture are just absolutely gorgeous, as you can see. And it's a weird morph. It's sex-dependent gene. So the males will be gray, like the natural coloration, and the females here are all calico. Beautiful red coloration for the most part. Now, one thing I have heard is that people have had a few males pop up calico, which is super interesting. So if that is actually the case, in theory, you could try to isolate a few females with such a male and you would get all calicos without any grays. I mean, the grays are neat. They offer some contrast, so I'm not too worried about that. I don't mind them at all. They look really nice. So anyway, we'll give them a bit of fish and some sweet potato. So there's some fish and there's a sweet potato. Awesome. Give them a bit of a spritz. Beautiful. All right, guys, here are my Porcellio dairy cows. These are the Porcellio laevis. This is the last type of laevis I have. Really, really nice. Everybody needs to have some dairy cows, obviously. Everybody needs to have a few dairy cows in their collection. And you can see some of them have way less expression. So those are the type of ones you would isolate to gradually get the white form laevis, right? So anyway, we're going to go ahead and drop some sweet potato in for them. Just like that. Now these guys, there's a lot of them, so I know that that's going to go quick. Be a little extra generous with that sweet potato. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of fish and sprinkle it in there too. But yeah, wonderful. Little dairy cows. All right, guys, so we're kind of getting close to the end there. We have 5 more cultures to feed and check up on, but these are the Nasatum peach. These are the little peach Armadillidium Isopods. They're doing all right. It's interesting. I've sort of had up and down experiences with them as far as how well they did, but I think they're sort of finally adjusting to the current enclosure and environment they live in. They seem pretty happy, so I'm hoping that I'll have a lot more popping up soon. But yeah, let's go ahead and give them a bit of food. Not too much, because I did notice a little bit of moldy food over there. So in fact, I might even take that piece out and just leave them with that one. And then we'll add a piece of fish over here. I kind of try and scatter it throughout because I don't want to assume that an isopod that's somewhere over here is going to find its way over here in a night. So I'll put food in different places, and there you go. There's a little bit of mold again, but the side of the enclosure is definitely moist enough, so we're not going to spray it. Beautiful. All right, guys, these are supposedly the Porcellio haasi light form. They're doing all right as well. There's quite a few of them. Fortunately, I have both sexes because I was worried that I had all males for a second the other day. But no, there are, in fact, a few of each. So hopefully, as always, we hope that they will breed. Yeah, let's go ahead and give them some sweet potato and a small piece of fish. Oh, it's on the leaf. Put it on the ground. There we go. Alright guys, next is basically the party mix of Porcellionoides prenosis, which are known as the powder blues. Here we have a huge mix of phenotypes. These were sold to me originally as the hombres, and they look like little pied animals covered in different coloration. But now it's basically like the normal bluish color and orange forms of the powder blues. I am keeping them on their own like this because my hope is that at some point maybe that gene or expression will pop up again in them. But so far it doesn't look like it at all. So unfortunately, whatever it was that was sold to me was not proven out. But I mean, they're still really cool, so I'm happy to have them. And obviously they are really enjoying that sweet potato already. So that's good to see. I'll put a few little bits of fish in here as well. I mean, it's really a joke. It's not going to do anything for that many isopods. So let me add a bit more. But yeah, the enclosure is also moist enough, so don't want it to get too wet in there. But yeah, they also really like their fish. So if you watch that closely for no more than a few seconds, you're going to see isopods all over it. Yeah, called it. Awesome. Alright guys, the second last isopods we're going to look at here are the Armadillidium werneri. A bit of mold there. But this group seems to be doing pretty well compared to the last. This is the one species I've kept that has just never bred for me. And I find it super frustrating because I don't know how I'm keeping them wrong or what's up with them. These at least are doing well, but they just don't breed. The last group I had got was like, I think all one sex, unfortunately. They just kind of like lasted a really long time but never bred. So I ended up getting more from a friend and they seem to be doing well, but like nada, no babies. So I don't know. Just gonna hope for the best with these guys. Obviously they look similar to the klugii Montenegros, but they're not, but they're really nice looking isopods. So yeah, as long as they're alive and well, we can play the patience game, you know, just let them do their thing and hope that they'll breed eventually. It's not a big worry. If they were all dropping on me, then obviously I'd know there's a bigger problem at hand, and that would be why they weren't breeding. So we can be patient. It'll be all right. So yeah, those are the Armadillidium werneri. Last but not least, we have my normal or regular Porcellio haasi. So these are the last isopods for the video. They are doing fantastic. A little bit of mold growth, but again, it's not too moist, so dries out, no issues there. They are fine. But yeah, these guys are doing all right. Most of them are juveniles still, but hopefully in the next few months, they will reach sexual maturity and reproduce. These guys do get to be a decent size. They're one of the Spanish giants or larger forms. So it'll be cool to see how they do. Right, so we'll give them a little bit of sweet potato there. And piece of fish as well. Wonderful. Well guys, there you have it. That's our last species fed, the Porcellio haasies. I really hope you enjoyed this video, even though these long videos, these tour/feeding videos are really popular. I've had people say anything from it's so nice to just sit there and binge these tour videos and see all the isopods, to even making mention that they find my voice soothing and they've been able to fall asleep watching the video. I don't know if that's exactly a compliment or what it is, but nonetheless, I'm happy that you guys are so receptive and enjoy this type of isopod video. I haven't really seen anything quite like it on YouTube as far as like the length of it, but I'm really glad you guys are liking it. So without further ado, that was the tour. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you have any questions, because I'm always happy to do my best to answer them. I usually dedicate some time every day to answering comments. It's getting harder and harder with the popularity of my channel growing. I'm getting a lot more questions than before, so I'm having to kind of space out my time and answer as many as I can in a reasonable amount of time and juggle it all, but it's a learning process. So bear with me. I will try my best to get to your questions. Once again, please don't forget to subscribe subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you enjoyed that content, give this video a thumbs up if you like isopods, and as always, stay healthy, stay safe during this time, and I can't wait to see you guys in another video again soon. Take care. And if you want to see more isopod videos, here is a link to my isopod playlist where you'll see tons more cool videos about these incredible critters. Click the link. Do it. You're gonna like it. You will not regret it. Awesome.